Chris Burnett, Green Dragon Tai Chi. Today I want to talk a little bit about release, the importance of releasing and what it can mean in different aspects of life. So the other day I was given an online class on Facebook, and it was a new experience for me to do a Facebook Live. I'm used to feedback. I'm used to being able to actually see the people that I'm talking to or teaching. But it was actually kind of introspective for me, because since I couldn't see people, I had to really think about, okay, what would they need to hear and do in order to grasp the concepts of Tai Chi, just those basic principles that are necessary. And one of the things that, as I was trying to teach about the Wuji posture, is the song and release. And so, as we all know, or some of us know, that song is to relax with a structure. So if I were to just relax without structure, it could be anything. It could be, it could be any shape. But when we release, we keep our skeleton up, and we release tension. As the muscles and tendons drop down, our skeleton holds our frame up. So that's what we call release, and we need that in order to begin in our Tai Chi, because we want to be able to have our muscles relaxed so that we can sense and feel the things that we need to feel inside the body, and then later on the things that we need to sense outside the body, external forces coming in that we may need to redirect or roll back, do those kind of things. So we have to have that release. So as I was explaining the release in that class, I was thinking about, as I release tension there, I also need to release my stomach. And so I'm going to take a side journey, and then I'll come right back. So I wrestled in high school, and we did a lot of push-ups, a lot of weight training. I never had a perfect stomach. And so I walk around high school kind of sucking my stomach in a little bit, and having my chest puffed out, kind of like the army teach your chest out, walk like that, which is fine if you're actually built that way. But if you're faking it, then you're just kind of, you're compressing the organs. They're not getting the proper circulation, and you're not getting the proper deep breathing that you want to have going on throughout any wellness practice. So as I talked about that release, and I said, okay, you want to release the belly. And when you release the belly, a part of allowing you to do that is releasing any thoughts that other people may have of you, or releasing the images that you want to present to people. So if I can release my cares of what other people think about when they look at my body, if I can release that and live in a natural state, then not only is it improving my health by allowing me to breathe deeper and be more natural, but it's also improving my mental health by releasing blockages and certain feelings that I may build towards myself in a negative fashion. So that was one way I took the release into the physical form, or should I say, from the Tai Chi and out into the world as a practice. So, and release can get so much deeper than that. I mean, we can release or let go of things in order to get more. So that's kind of like a yin-yang principle, that opposites could actually coexist and actually help each other. So I release to gain more. In that particular case, by releasing tension, releasing certain thoughts, I was able to gain more health, more, a better practice, I should say, a better practice. So we talk about release. There's other forms of releasing too, like releasing things from your life, releasing people from your life, right? Let's take a habit, for example. I used to smoke cigarettes many years ago. And in order to quit smoking cigarettes, quit smoking is very, very hard to do. Why? Because it's an addiction. You crave it, your body wants it, and eventually your mind wants it. Like, you'll create certain scenarios of how you can achieve it, right? But it actually takes an effort to go out and get cigarettes. You actually have to physically leave from wherever you are, at home, work, whatever, get in your car or walk, bicycle, whatever it is, to go to a store and pay money to receive the cigarettes in order to smoke them. So what if you just didn't do that? What if you just cut it down and say, hey, I'm just not going to go to the store and get cigarettes? It sounds easy, right? It sounds simple. But obviously the factors that drive us in our life, especially when you have an addiction, are overcome the simplicity of that way to quit. So sometimes when we want to release a thing like that, we have to replace it with something. In my particular case, I replaced it with running. I replaced it with jogging, things like that. So in order for me to quit, not only did I say to myself, okay, I'm just not going to go to the store. I'm going to release the habit of getting up, spending my money just to get something that's potentially harmful for me. But also I'm going to do something else instead, because those thoughts will come into your brain, they'll creep in, and the longer you can entertain those thoughts, then the more likely your chance of going out and following through with those thoughts. So if a thought comes in that's not inducive to your practice, not inducive to your well-being, recognize that thought and release it. And like I said, you may need to substitute it with something else. You might say, oh, instead of me going to smoke a cigarette, why don't I go do 20 push-ups? That's just an example off the top of my head, but it could be anything. Why don't I read a book? Maybe there's a habit, or should I say, sorry, not a habit, but maybe you're skilled in something. Maybe you are a skilled artist, or maybe you're a piano player and you haven't done much towards your craft, or maybe you do. Maybe you're an expert at your craft, but there's a habit that you want to get rid of. And every time you think of doing that particular habit, you say, okay, I'm going to go and play the piano a little bit more. I'm going to practice a little bit more. And eventually that thought will leave, and it'll be replaced by the thought that you're doing and how do you proceed with your piano playing, where you'll get deeper into it and you'll get lost in that zone, and time will go by, and eventually those cravings will cease. So I know I'm going off on a tangent here about this particular type of release, but so many of us suffer from habits that don't really serve us, things that we actually want to get rid of. And not just necessarily addictions, but it could be negative ways of thinking, not seeing ourselves in the best light, things like that. So changing our mindset, recognizing the thought as it comes in, knowing how to release that thought, and in this case, substitute it with a more positive thought. These are things that really help us to release. Going back to the Tai Chi, release is actually the thing that makes a lot of the applications work. I mean, if I've got a person behind me, I'm doing chin style, maybe lays the tiny coat, my knee is behind their knee and my arm is across their body. If I try and force them down like that, try and take them down, they're going to feel all that tension. They're going to be able to resist. It's something that they can hold on to. It's something that they can recognize that's tangible, that they can fight against. And they're going to fight against it. But if I'm here and I let it go, release, just exhale, song, release, that is something that becomes very heavy, and it's something that they don't really have, unless they've been training a long time, a vocabulary against. So of course a Tai Chi practitioner, somebody skilled in some of the other arts, will have the necessary vocabulary to recognize that. Not to say that they'd be able to handle it, but if somebody's always used to fight with tension, and when you relax and flow into a movement, it's hard for their brain to understand that. Why am I getting pushed out so easily? Why am I dropping to the ground when this guy feels like he's doing hardly anything at all? So all that comes from releasing tension. And there's also aiming your release, right? So if I have my hand across the person's body, say my arm is across their center, and I just release randomly, then they'll feel heavy, but they'll be able to get out of it. But now using my Tingjin, when I'm across and I sense or feel into their center and release into their center, then that's what's going to take them down. So releasing with a goal or an objective is really what we want to do in Tai Chi. So, and it's just like the same as when we're holding our structure. I said when we're in Wu Ji, we don't just release into any posture, we release with structure. So we release consciously, letting go, but maintaining certain things. So imagine there's a certain person in your life who is absolutely no good for you. Right? Every time you want to do something positive, they want to do something negative. Or every time you think good of yourself, they want to do something to bring you down. So in those ways, we want to actually release that person. So we want to try and let go of anything that hinders us from not only making our goals, making our life better, always climbing, challenging ourselves. So we want to make sure that we stay on the pathway, always growing. It's okay at one point in your life to be a certain way, right? But as the years progress, we should be going through different stages in our life. We should be releasing the things that hold us down in order for us to ascend, right? So that's all I have right now on release. I will probably come back to this subject, very important subject for me. And I look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks for joining me.